Already. I wanted to take a minute and go over what happened this week in the market. I think it'll be easier, like in a video format. If we like it, we can change it or go back to like all the text. But um, yeah, Monday through Thursday, I had a pretty good week. The price action was good. Uh, Ended up making new all-time highs on the Nasdaq, and I believe on ES. We can check that here. We did, yeah. Just kept making new all-time highs, and then Friday we had um, the China tariff stuff come out, which I wanted to go over because it looks like a very violent day, and technically it is. We lost like 800, 800 or so points, like down to where we closed on the Nasdaq. But um, if you zoom out a little bit and you look at the charts, it's not actually horrible. We're still up like huge since what is this, May? Yeah, since like April lows, we're still well above there. And it's kind of like you can't drive your car with no gas. Sometimes you gotta stop at the gas station, put some gas in there. So uh, we definitely need to watch these next like key levels here. Um, but yeah, let's go over the tweet, or I guess the post on True Social. Um, Essentially, China came out with import-export controls on every product, which is what it states here. Uh, they weren't directly targeting the U.S., but Trump had came out and said that um, starting on November 1st, the United States will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that they are currently paying, um, which made the market dump pretty hard. Can't tell what time this was exactly, but if we go down to a lower time frame, we can see on Friday um, the market opened uh, up a little bit, and then right here around 7:40, we get that massive just sell off down into this previous support zone, which comes from over here. Um, we do get a little bit of it starting to get bought back up, and then in like the last hour, or it'd be after hours on Friday, we get another push down. We'll have to see where the market opens on Monday, but Trump did end up coming back and saying, or clarifying, I guess, about the meeting that he had scheduled with Xi Jinping. Um, he said, "No, I haven't canceled. However, I'm not sure if we'll have it. I'll be there regardless. I would assume we might have it. However, they hit the world with something. It was shocking. Out of the blue, they came up with this whole import-export concept, and nobody knew anything about it. Um, there's a multilateral meeting in South Korea that's taking place, and that's where the meeting was supposed to happen. So we'll see if they still have this meeting. I think that'll be good for the markets, but we'll just have to wait and see what comes out. But let's go over these charts a little bit. So if we go back to the daily time frame, so each one of these candles represents one day, and we can use these zones as support and resistance from the last lower low. So right here on this candle, we see that we still close below this support zone. So this would actually flip into a resistance zone now because we closed below it. So we can turn this red. Actually, we'll just change this to resistance / supply. And then we would look back and look for the last lower low, which would be this candle right here. So we can set this as, this would be our new support zone. So click here, change this to support / demand. So now we can watch these levels in between here. We could chop around a little bit, or we could even just completely reverse this drop and start to make new highs. We could go here. We could even go down more into this next support zone. Like down into like the low 23,000s. It's not horrible. Again, like I said, the pullback was needed, but we'll just have to watch these levels. Let's go to QQQ. It's going to look the same because this is just like the ETF version of the NASDAQ. This is ES, so the S&P. And again, they're going to look pretty similar, except the lows and stuff are going to be different. So our next support zone, we'll look back for the last lower low, and that would be here, Tuesday, September 2nd. So we'll draw our box, and we'll label everything. That's the wrong label. Let's go support and demand. And then obviously we close below this demand zone, so this will flip to a new resistance zone. The reason why I'm saying that is, like you can see this, the bottom wick on this candle. It means the price pushed down to here, and there was enough buyers waiting at this point to buy it back up before making like this next leg up into like new higher highs. And because of that, we can recognize that as a demand or support zone. It's not a for sure thing, but it can be used as like a visual representation of a for key levels essentially. So we'll see what happens here. Same thing, we could push down and keep going lower, or we could completely reverse this depending on what happens with the markets on Monday. So we'll just have to wait and see for that. I don't think this is that bad though. I think a pullback is needed. I think it was a little violent to happen one day, but again, we'll see. We'll see what happens. This is just the S&P 500, like the ETF. So essentially the same thing. We look back for our last lower low and close below this one. So this would technically be a resistance or a supply zone now. And then from here, we'll go back to that last lower low, which would be here. And this turns into our new support or demand zone. So again, we can chop around in here. It depends on the news. We could reverse this, or we could keep pushing down until we hit some sort of support and then we bounce. So we'll watch these reactions. Okay, so Ethereum ate it pretty bad from what it looked like, because we started the day at 4,300, pushed all the way down to 3,500, and then we ended up like bouncing back a little bit later on in the day. And then right now on Saturday, we're starting to see a push down again. So we're breaking these demand or support zones. So again, we'll flip these into resistance zones. I can actually get rid of this one. We'll look back for the last lower low, and that would be here. Bear with me. There we go. And then this would be or support and demand. From here, I think there's more than just news that made crypto dive like it did. I think there's a lot of algorithms like between market makers and what are called whale position, or yeah, I guess whale positions. It's just people that have like a massive stake. It's not that they can manipulate the price, but if you see a massive order come in that gives you like a huge drive down, like from here, like look at all this selling volume here. That could be from a few positions. It could be from like a bunch of little positions. You don't really know where it comes from, but just because the tariffs like are back on China, that doesn't really affect crypto like in the broader sense. So again, we'll just have to wait and see. This next support zone goes from 3350 to 3500 ish. So we did wick into that zone right here and then quickly bounce back. So we'll see what happens. The only concern I have is that we're making new lows here. Because we have a higher high from this point, higher high, and then now we have this point, which is a lower high on September 13th. And then we broke right here, would be a change of structure. And then we failed to make a new higher high. So this could turn into the start of a downtrend or the start of an accumulation zone. So we'll have to wait and see where this next high comes from. And if we fail to make or break this 47.59 point, then we're probably going to keep continuing to drive down. If we break below this demand zone, the same thing. Like from there, we have a huge volume gap of buyers, and that next drop would take us sub 3,000. And I think for then the Ethereum thesis would be put on pause for a little bit. But yeah, we'll see. We can't predict the future. We can only react to what the market gives us. So let's move on to Bitcoin. Yeah, same thing. We actually did wick into this this demand zone down here at 108 to 110. Just with like a huge sell-off yesterday. We went from 122 down to 110. I think there was a period that was like 103 or 102. It's not showing on this specific chart, but yeah, the same thing. This is going to be a huge support. If you drag this over, we can see all the times that we've gotten into this zone, and it's either bounced the zone, or even if we go to the weekly time frame, we've had weeks that have touched into this zone and rejected. So once we came back to it at the beginning of September, and we found more buyers, that's why we get the next push up into this all-time high, because this previous resistance zone from here flipped to a support zone and then took off. So now we're back in that support zone. We'll see what happens to it. And then NVIDIA, what else do I have on here? NVIDIA and IREN. NVIDIA is still healthy. Again, we hit new all-time highs at 195, which is insane because if you look back at April, yeah, this is right here is April 7th, a Monday, April 7th is that week. And our low point was $86. So from 86 to 195 in the matter of, 6 months? Still not a bad thing to pull back to 183. But sometimes we get caught up on like a daily chart or like a smaller time frame. If you look at it, you're like, oh, it's going to start downtrending. And then you zoom out and you're like, oh no, we're still up pretty good. So I don't think it's anything to worry about. If anything, we can look at Friday as like a sale on all the stocks that we wanted to either add to our position or reposition in. So let me get rid of this. Iren just had a crazy day. I've got some January contracts on Iren that are just doing phenomenal. But we did hit 70. I don't think that this, like, even if you take, let's go to the daily time frame, you get a little bit more information. If we go from this last pivot low and we do a Fibonacci retracement, which would be here, you go from this high down to this last pivot low. Our 0.5 to 0.618 retracement is like the mid 40s. So like from this trend, this pullback is not, and it still bounced and held $60 essentially in after hours, which is crazy. So this 0.702 will be our next key level, and what is this, 58, let's see where it is, 58.32, 58, like 58.50, or this 0.786 line. We can watch these two levels and see how the price reacts. If we can hold these or essentially bounce them, then we'll be fine. And that would look like possibly this, or we could even come down and retest this 53.6, maybe chop around a little bit before we make a move higher. If you see a reaction that looks like this, where it comes down and it breaks, and it essentially bumps its head off of this level, you can see a push down here at each one of these levels. But again, we're not telling the future. We're just looking at points of supply and demand. So we'll see what happens.